Welcome everyone to the Reinventing podcast. This is the space where you come for stories about reinventing your life. If you feel stuck, unfulfilled, lost, and you just need guidance, you need perspective, you want to know that you are not alone in your journey of life. And whether that's around relationships, self and well-being, health and wellness, finances and career, whatever it may be going on in your life that you feel unfulfilled and feel really stuck around, this is the place to hear stories of leaders and teachers and mentors who have overcome the odds, who have got through the challenges of life, and they provide tools and strategies that you can use to reinvent yourself and get unstuck. I am so excited for our guest speaker today. Her name is Rebecca Moore. She is an entrepreneur and leader who believes it is never too late to fulfill your purpose, to serve, and to prosper. Her passion is to teach others how to thrive in business and life through clarity and crushing self-doubt. Not only have her overwhelming personal life experiences, but the challenges she's faced and overcome as an entrepreneur equipped her with the knowledge to successfully guide others when life looks like a hot mess and one feels like they have more setbacks than they can endure. I am so thankful to have you here today, Rebecca, to share your story of reinventing life. And I want to mention, I was looking up Sriracha Honda. Are you familiar with him?
I've heard the name, but I don't know. I haven't heard him.
Yeah, so he's the founder of Honda. And, I've been blessed to hear about your story of life. And, Sriracha Honda, his journey of becoming successful in the business of Honda, it just his personal setbacks and his professional setbacks and what he's endured. You are a model of that. You are an example of someone who crushes it in life, that when life hits hard, you gain clarity, you keep moving, and you teach people that. And I'm so grateful for you to be here to share your story and your journey of life, of how you reinvented yourself and some tools that we can take with us today. So when you're ready, please dive in.
Thank you, Alyssa. It's a delight to be here. And really, as you know, we're always reinventing ourselves, and
Right.
there's always an opportunity to just tweak and improve. And so I truly believe that, and I appreciate the opportunity of being here. So I guess I'll start with a little story, something fairly recently. Five years ago, and this will kind of give you a sense, but 5 years ago, I was sitting in my minivan in a nursing home parking lot, and I had adrenaline pulsing through my body. I don't know if you've ever felt this before, but the strange thing is I had just finished measuring an elderly woman for a new bra. I know it sounds weird, but I was experiencing these agonizing thoughts, and this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, what in the world am I doing here? What am I doing? What am I doing? How could it be that 20 years earlier, I was standing on the corner of Madison Avenue on my cell phone, there were taxi cabs whizzing by, horns honking, and I was feeling that same adrenaline rush, same like head to toe, just every cell of my body was on fire. But this was palpable excitement. This was like, I was just on top of the world. I'd just learned that we'd successfully raised our venture capital. Now my business, now I could keep payroll. We could still keep selling the 4,000 products from 70 museums around the world. This was really happening. I had done the impossible, and my startup was like really taking off, and this was my dream. Yeah. So back to the van. This adrenaline rush was different. This was like humiliation. This was like the opposite. And what I realized then was that when I had joined this new company, this was a fashion lingerie startup run by a woman. I totally loved the mission. As a breast cancer survivor, a mother of 3 teenage daughters, the whole idea was to help women thrive by making them confident about their body from underneath up. And I was really itching to work when I accepted this job. After 10 years of being a volunteer and a caregiver, I was so ready to go back. I knew I wanted to help women thrive and create flexible incomes, and that was the model of this company, and to be more confident about themselves. But this painful feeling that I was feeling. It was like a hot tidal wave. It was a disconnect between my internal and my external mission. You know, I thought that this was it, that this is my next wonderful position. But what I realized is fashion and lingerie wasn't my passion. My passion was helping women start their own businesses. And I just didn't have the guts at that point to start my own thing again. It had been 15 years since I was CEO, and I thought, well, I'll just join a company because I don't want to start it again. And that's when this breakdown really led to a breakthrough. And that's what my big message here for any of your listeners is that, sometimes the thing that feels like a breakdown, if we can get super curious about it, it can be a breakthrough. It's not a failing. It's actually an enlightening, okay? So it was at that point that I decided not to spend another minute of my life feeling undervalued and unfulfilled, and I knew that I had to get close, I had to get better aligned, and I wanted to be better compensated too. So that was important too. And so I started a consulting company. It's called In a Nutshell Consulting, and the idea was to prove that it's possible for mission-driven women to make an impact and to make money through their talent, their innate talents. And that's why I believe it's never too late to fulfill your purpose and serve others. Because I started that, so that was, several years ago at age 50. And here I am. And a lot of my friends were thinking about, retirement. And I'm like, I can't relate to you because I'm just starting another business.
Yeah.
It's like I'm starting from scratch again. Yeah. So that was hard. It's like, yeah, I know where I want to be, but I'm not there yet. And it does take, it takes work.
And why did you have that inkling is it because you had done volunteer work for so many years that you just, within you felt like you wanted more for yourself? You weren't done on your mission of life of serving, and for those of your friends who were ready to retire, maybe they had reached that peak, but for you, you still had an ache, and it was okay in your mind. Like, I want this and I can pursue it.
Yeah, I am one of those people. Well, I felt like I was wasting all my education and my experience. And this is the tricky thing for women. When you have kids, it's like that balance. And I decided, after, and that's another story for another day, is that .com actually, after 9/11, it ended up we were about to be acquired, and after 9/11 happened, the deal soured, and we had to wind down.
Please share.
We had to wind down. It was devastating.
This big story of like so many people, they would just die for this experience of what you had, and then to show evidence of coming back to life and crushing it after some challenging moments. Share real quick that story. I would love to hear it.
Well, it was definitely a dream come true. I mean, again, I've reinvented my life a gazillion times. So if any of you are on the verge of that, just take heart. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I was an art history major, and then I worked for the Smithsonian, and then I decided, well, there aren't, it's an old boys network, and there need to be more women museum directors. So I went back to business school, got an MBA and a degree in nonprofit management to become a museum director. And then I realized that I hated bureaucracy and I hated big corporate America, and I was an entrepreneur at heart. And I started working for a startup, and the rest is, it became clear to me that one of the things I love is the strategy and the ideation and helping connect dots that other people can't connect, and being a thought leader and all that kind of stuff. So, but actually I didn't answer your question about, so what ended up happening is I started a consulting firm and started getting involved in the internet. And then I realized that, wow, I can combine my experience in the museum and art world with my business experience. And how can museums generate revenue in a more entrepreneurial way. And I thought, well, what about if we brought together all the products from museum stores around the world so consumers who are culturally curious can just order, with one click. No, this, go back. This is probably before you were born. No, no, this is the late 90s, okay? This is before iPhone, before Google, before everything. And I looked around, I looked online, I'm like, nobody's doing this. There had been examples of mail order catalogs and retail stores like the Museum Company that had tried to aggregate museum products. But they weren't really working with the museums. And this was a partnership. So this was my whole idea. And I basically grew it from an idea to 30 employees, 4,000 products, 70 museums, raised money from friends and family, from angels, and then ultimately from venture capitalists. And a funny story, that was also when I was starting my family, because I was a late bloomer, got married at 30. And so I just have memories of going to venture capitalists 7 months pregnant saying, here's my idea. And 99% of them said, well, we really don't think that your market is going to feel comfortable ordering online. Women ordering products online? I kid you not. So I finally found some investors that were women, and they got it. They're like, oh my God, this is great. I want to order I want to order from the Louvre, I want to order from Prado and Museum of Fine Arts. So anyway, so we built this thing, and then the unforeseen happened. And at a point when we were really very close to profitability, we're doing over $1 million in sales, and it's just a scrappy team of people, and we just need a little bit more capital to get to the next point. And at that point, internet stocks, internet deals were just nuclear. I mean, nobody wanted to touch them at that point after 9/11. Just the world stopped. It's similar to now. So, I mean, I've seen it before. It's just, these things happen.
Yeah.
And it's interesting right now. Oh, and it was needless to say, it was devastating to have to wind it down.
Yeah. So how do you pick yourself up?
Heartbreaking. Well, the good news is, well, at that point I said, well, what am I going to do? But part of me was, what am I going to do? What was this all for? And I thought, well, someday I'll know what it's all for. And the other part of me is like, I was so burned out. I was so totally burned out. I was just like, okay. And I was also pregnant with my second daughter at that point. I'd had several miscarriages. And so it was like this gift. And my second daughter was born. And then I ended up having a third daughter at age 40. So I focused on my family then. It was pretty clear. It's like, yeah. But part of me was just itching because I don't want to be defined by my circumstances or by cancer or by my anxiety or by, just my children. I want to be, I really feel so strongly about this. I just want to do the best I can with the talents that God's gifted me. And it sounds trite, but it's like I have a unique set of talents, and I just need to figure out how to use them to help other people just move and have a better life. And that's really what it's all about. So
and it sounds like, for you, when life hits, when these challenges arise, I mean, you've built a business, $1 million business, and then 9/11 happens and that crumbles after all your hard work. You're building a family, you've had miscarriages, you have breast cancer, you're in the service-based field, you have all this knowledge and experience. And many women and men and anyone, we all go through experiences of life where we're trucking along, we have opportunities, we feel blessed, maybe we feel frustrated, and then something happens and we perceive it as this really bad thing that, oh my gosh, I lost everything. Like I put in all this work. Where you're speaking to, the perception is really, you can perceive it as I've just lost everything, or how do I pivot? Okay, I'm a mom. I'm having another child. Let me embrace this part. This has been presented to me. Let me explore that. So
Mhm.
holding a strong perception of, I get to define this to whatever I want it to be. And I'm going to choose to define it as, this is my opportunity to invest in my family. But there's still that inner knowingness in this calling that you had, that I have talents, just as everybody, we all have these talents, and you may be itching to give and serve through them. And it's okay to have these itches, and it's okay. Doesn't matter what age you are in life. Just as you relaunch your business at 50, that own that itching,
Yeah.
recognize it, sit with it.
Harness the itching.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds funny, but it's like, grab onto that. It's like it's telling you something, you know,
Yeah.
and get really curious about it, and surround yourself with other people who get it. And I think that's actually one of the trickiest things. And I've read so many books about this, of all the, like, you know, thought leaders in business, and it really it boils down to figuring out your identity. And it's not just, it's by harnessing that. One of the things, once you harness that, you get curious about that itch, and then kind of define how you want your identity to be. Because I think some of the angst and the pain is that, you know, deep inside you're not quite doing what it is that you were meant to do yet. And it's okay, even if you're, you know, past 50. It's okay at any point in your life. We can't be ageist anymore. You know, we are living so much longer than any other point in history, even with COVID. You know, I mean, who says retirement's at, you know, X number? In other countries, it's much longer. We have so much more given, and we have so much more insight after a certain age.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that insight needs to be poured back into our young people in a positive way. Like, get rid of all this negativity, and let's move things along. So anyway, I do think there is great hope in that.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like you're really speaking to the importance of, listen to those whispers, those butterflies, those itches you have in you, no matter the age that you're at, and, you know, allow your perspective to, if it's not supporting you, to look at another way to perceive the situation, so that you can move forward, so you can gain clarity, so you can, you know, crush your self-doubt as you speak to. And it's important to consider your environment by surrounding yourself by people who understand, who support, who encourage, who maybe are going through the same thing, so that,
Yeah.
did you want to speak more to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. There's one thing I wanted, an experience I wanted to share, and and I know a lot of my fellow women entrepreneurs who are coming. You know, this is maybe their third or fourth career, if or they had been stay-at-home moms. And what happens is, your kids and your family can only remember you for like the past, like how you've been for the past 10 years. So when you're changing into something new and you're starting a new business, they're confused, because they know you as, you know, mom. And they expect you, you know, they have certain expectations that you actually have to change, and it's uncomfortable. It's like, no, I'm sorry, I am in my office right now. Sorry, or, you know, or this can wait, you know. And it's hard because your heart is being torn. You're like, oh, I want to go help them solve their problem, but no. And so you actually, as you kind of move into your new identity, the identity that's closer to your true, you know, what you want to be, you're going to disappoint some people, including your family, and they're going to be confused because they know you a certain way, and you're slowly changing, and you are changing for the better.
Yeah. I'm so
But
glad you speak to this, because it is a weight for women, because it's like the societal norms are, you are the nurturer, the caregiver, you have the children, you stay at home with them, you take care of them. But society has guided us that it's okay as women to desire to be in the workforce, but then we're still pulled. We have this
Yep.
pull and this tug, and You
Yeah.
know, depending on what you follow and understand, you know, there's those masculine and feminine energies that I know that when I'm in business mode, I'm operating in a masculine, I'm in provider mode, I'm in productivity mode. And when I'm sitting with my kids and I'm cooking them dinner and I'm playing games with them, I'm in nurture mode. So I'm channeling more of my feminine energy. But I feel like we struggle as women to maintain a balance here because we want to be fulfilling this calling of service in another space besides our home. But we feel this pressure, as you spoke to, by our families to be the person that they want us to be and they've defined us to be. What is one tip that you might have in helping a woman, or even a man? You know, I know men in these opposite roles as well, but
Yeah.
um, to help us not feel so bad.
I I just wanted to listen. I hope it's okay if I mention another podcast, but
No,
I
not
just listened to Brene Brown interview Melanie Gates. Is that her name, Melanie Gates? Bill Gates' wife.
Oh, okay.
And everyone should listen to it because one of the things that they talked about is that we need to kind of create a new role in government, and that is like a care czar. And they talked about how in families, so women, I think, can bring. Bear with me. I'm going to tie this together. Women can bring a nurturing component to business, and I think that that is the great hope. And I think also men can contribute in a household in a masculine way, but also a nurturing way. And I think what we're finding with COVID is that everybody's home under the same roof. We're all trying to like get our work done. And maybe what's happened in, I know a lot of households, including mine, where since my husband doesn't have to commute, he's like shaved off 2 hours of commuting every day. And so he's actually enjoying cooking. And I'm like, have at it. I've done it for 25 years. It's all yours. And he may be a little bit, tough in the kitchen. Like he doesn't want anyone to mess with him when he's in there. Like, okay. But, why not? Let's look at this. We have been offering free care. I mean, we have uncompensated care in so many different areas. And it's only takes a damn, pandemic to make it obvious, right? So I think we don't have to be in a masculine mode when we're doing business. I think that's what society says. What I say is let's find a new paradigm that is a caring business. And okay, yeah, my dog wanders in while I'm on a call. So what, right? I'm human, or my kids, but I get to say, look, I'm focusing now. Mom's working. It's valid, it's this is a valid occupation, even though I'm in an office at home, right?
Yeah.
It's okay, and Dad can work from home too.
Yeah.
I mean, we are reinventing that. We're reinventing the workforce, and we need to. It's about time, right?
Yeah. So you're
So I
supposed
don't
to
know.
reframe in your structure and your perspective of, I went straight to masculine mode and you're saying, no, it can be a feminine space. It can be a nurturing space and you don't have to feel guilty. You just have to, it's more of a fluid thing. And it that makes sense in my head because when I think of business and I used to be in sales in corporate America and everything was just like rigid.
Driving, yeah.
There was a kid in the room like that you'd be like, no, this is not okay. But like, what if that was the norm, that you could just have a more fluid space, a softer energy, a more open experience of where it's not such a detachment, but kind of a fluid process of life. And if we could shift that perspective and that paradigm in our head of what the workforce looks like, and COVID, it seems to be a contributing factor of why we could potentially go that way faster because dads are now in the house with the kids running in the background and the dog running in the room and same,
It is. It's like the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
And I just read a statistic in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that 30% of workers want to remain home at least 2 days or 3 days. I'm getting the stats wrong, but people are like, hey, I like this. Not every day. I like to
Yeah.
go into the office or whatever,
Yeah.
but I can do this and I can focus and I get to also see my kids when they get home from school.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I just know they're home from school and it's just nice knowing they're home from school.
Right.
Teenagers, they don't want to talk to you, but at least they're under the same roof.
Yeah. I was thinking about that yesterday. It's interesting because I was thinking about how, I'm divorced, so I have my kids here 50% of the time. And the days that they are here, it is a lot more work for me because I'm trying to work and I'm helping them with school and stuff like that.
Yes.
And part of me was like, gosh, wouldn't it be easier if they were back in school? And then I was like, you know what? Like my oldest is in 7th grade. And if she was in school, she would not be as connected with me. She would not want to be like sitting with me. And like, we went to the store real quick for the other day to get her something. And like, wouldn't crave me time. And I bought them little trampolines to jump on in the house.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, for extracurricular activity for them, and so she's like, Mom, will you jump with me? Like, I wouldn't probably have that. She would be busy at school probably till 6 p.m. doing color guard and class
Oh,
and
yeah.
getting homework. Like, it'd be a totally different dynamic. And if I
So
can,
true.
through my reframe and my perception of realizing what a blessing, like my generation, my gets to experience this. My mom didn't get that.
Mm-mm.
Her mother didn't get that.
Mm.
Well, my kids get that, right?
Yeah.
With their children. And so, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of blessing in what we're experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a double-edged sword. I mean,
Sure.
I think we can learn so much from it, and it does have the potential to change our workforce dynamics and
Yeah.
expectations dramatically, and we can still grieve, how tough it's been, and it's
Right.
absolutely unthinkable that all the layoffs were women. I mean, those statistics are just absolutely heartbreaking and something's got to be done. It's like a
Yeah.
big red flag wake up call. So
Yeah.
I don't in any way want to
Undermine
minimize
anyway. Yeah. Sure.
how
Yeah.
bad this has been for so many.
Sure.
So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But it is teaching us too to slow down. Like, we are such a go, go, go. Like, I live in
yeah,
California and LA. Like, I don't want to drive to LA. Are you freaking kidding me? Like,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
in traffic 4 hours a day, right? Where, in different cultures, it's a lot slower pace. You take
yeah.
lunch for 4 hours, right?
I
Like,
know. Wouldn't that be nice?
4 hours in traffic. So like, there's all types of, variables that have presented
Yeah.
itself that we can explore to create a new perception, paradigm, life experience around, producing an income, supporting a family, and, all those
Yes.
other components. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and I know anybody who's started a business and has a spouse or friends that say, "Why don't you get a real job?" That I think can change now too, because you are at home and you're working, and people see it. They see how hard, your family and friends see. Wow, mom's not just like twiddling her thumb. She's like working it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's
Yeah.
kind of right under their noses. So yeah,
Well, thank you so
good
much,
stuff.
Rebecca. I really appreciate everything that you
Yeah.
shared. And I just want to ask, one tip that you might, the number one tip that you find is most beneficial to your clients as they are, trying to gain clarity and, keep moving forward and crush life even when it seems really hard. What is one thing that you would recommend?
So I do this with my clients when we get started and have our deep dive and our, onboarding. I'm getting to know a new client, and one of the things I ask them is if you could describe what kind of person you want to be, how would you describe it? And this isn't new to, I mean, many advisors, they start with something like this, but it's so helpful. It's like, I want to be the kind of person who wakes up in the morning excited about work. I want to be working. I don't want to be stressed. I want to be, I really want to be enjoying what I'm doing and helping people at the same time. I want to be the kind of person that's using my talents every day. and that is compensated fairly. And then we look into, in all the different components of your life, how can you kind of move the needle in that? How can you keep every morning say, hey, this is the kind of person I'm becoming, I want to become. So I'm going to act like that person, And if you can keep that in your mind, you're really focusing on, it's more your identity rather than all these numbers of goals and things. Everything else can start to fall in place when you first set out how you want to be, and then you can begin to get curious about what am I doing now that is not that's getting in the way of that. How can I tweak it? How can I have micro wins every day towards how I want to become, and then of course create more of a plan. But I think that's the first step in reinventing yourself. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's like, how often do you ask that?
Right.
And you can actually use it with your kids. Like, is this the kind of, when they snap at you, or is this you? Is this how you want to be? So that's one of the things. And then also, when you do have a setback, just get really, really curious about it instead of looking at it as a failure. This is an operating rule that I do with that I use with my clients. Like, okay, that didn't work. That doesn't mean I'm not a good coach or you're not a good CEO or whatever. Where's the disconnect on that? What can we tweak? And sometimes it's just a minor tweak, and sometimes it's a major tweak. It's a major rethink. But it's like, okay, this is gold. This setback.
It's not a failure. It's just an opportunity.
It is, yeah. And it sounds cliche, but it's like, wow, what can I? Because if you come from curiosity rather than just blame, it's just so much more valuable. And then the other part
fun.
is, yeah, and that's where it's helpful to have like a kitchen, what Brene Brown calls her kitchen table, like, her advisory board, but they meet around the kitchen table. It's like, it's not necessarily your partner or your spouse, because they know you as you have been for the past 20 years or whatever, 5 years. But it's people that really kind of get it. They get that you're like, it's not that you're dissatisfied with yourself, but it's like you want to be a better, you want a better iteration that's really not so stressed, not anxiety ridden.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's
it.
where we're
Thank
going.
you.
Yeah. So
I'd love for you to share. I know that you have, you've got websites and social media platforms. Where can people find you? And do you have any specific offers you have available right now?
Yeah, sure. So my social media handle is In a Nutshell CEO, and that's I chose In a Nutshell because I wanted to help female founders tell their story in a nutshell and align their messaging with their mission. And so In a Nutshell CEO on Facebook, Instagram, inanutshellceo.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn with my full name. And so I am offering a 20-minute strategy session with anyone who's interested, who, if you're thinking of starting a business, or if you're a business owner and you've kind of hit a setback, or you're not sure if there's something that just it seems like it's not in alignment, I'm happy to hop on a Zoom call for you with 20 minutes and, get to the bottom of it, and then see if, see what we can do from there. So,
awesome.
And that's right on my website, or I can share a link with you. So,
okay. Yeah. And that's inanutshell.com, right? And I'll provide the links and everything below.
inanutshellceo.com.
In a Nutshell CEO. Thank you.
Yep. Inanutshell.com was already taken. But,
okay.
No, but I've had
Don't go to that one. I'll put the information below.
Fine.
Rebecca, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story and being transparent and honest and open about your journey and the setbacks you've had and how you persevered, and some strategies that all of us can take in business, in life, in shifting perspective and continuing to thrive and go and crush life, and through gaining clarity and shifting perspective. So thank you so much for everything. I'm so grateful to have you as a friend, and I look forward to staying connected.
Thank you, Alyssa. I look forward to staying connected with you too.